Hey guys, welcome to my channel. It's Jessica Ward King, the StigmaCrusher here. Every year on September 10th, we commemorate World Suicide Awareness Day. That's this week, and so this week I wanted to talk about suicide and suicidal ideation more specifically. Now, this is a difficult topic to discuss, and so I did want to offer what has colloquially been discussed as a trigger warning. That's in and of itself problematic, but we do want to talk about something that's really difficult to talk about. And so if you're in a vulnerable place somewhere where you don't feel like you're safe to be talking about something like suicide, when you're alone, please go be with someone. If you feel like you're in immediate danger, call a suicide hotline. There isn't a national suicide hotline right now in Canada, 988 in the United States. It will be in Canada in November, but currently doesn't exist here. So call your local suicide hotline, or if you're in immediate danger, call 911. Never hesitate to call 911. Suicide can be an immediate emergency, and it is worth your life to call 911. So please don't hesitate to do that if you're in immediate danger. But also remember that just talking about suicide doesn't have to be accompanied by calling 911, going to the hospital. Just remember that just the mention of the word suicide doesn't have to be accompanied by sirens and emergency bells. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about suicidal ideation that's not accompanied by plans, that's not accompanied by an immediate wish to die, that's not accompanied by an immediate plan to action a death by suicide, okay? We're talking about ideation. And that ideation can just be the insistence or the thought or the intrusive thought of suicide that happens inside someone's mind and that one cannot control. And we're going to talk about what that feels like and what that sounds like. And the reason for talking about this is not to sensationalize suicidal ideation or thoughts of suicide. The whole reason for talking about this is to sort of destigmatize the idea of suicidal ideation, and maybe to make it a little easier for you if you're someone having suicidal ideation to talk about or verbalize what you're going through. Or if you're somebody that is living with or loving someone that has suicidal ideation, to understand what that person's going through so that you can talk about it and not be so shocked, or not be so it not be something that's so traumatic. Because I know that when I was first having suicidal ideation, I was terrified to talk about it to anyone, because I thought that if I told anyone what I was thinking about, the thoughts that were going through my mind, that I would immediately be, summarily just taken off to hospital and locked away and the key thrown away, and the white coats and all of that stereotypical stuff that you see happening in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and all that kind of thing. That's what I thought was going to happen to me. And to a certain extent, I was not wrong when I first verbalized what was going through my mind back when I was a young person, and the stigma was much worse, and people really truly didn't understand, and the people around me didn't understand, and I didn't even understand, and I couldn't verbalize even properly what was happening to me. That is to a certain extent what happened. I told someone what was going on, and they said we need to go to hospital, and I agreed, and we did, and it was a terrible experience. And so I'm hoping that with this video, if I can help to destigmatize this experience for even one person, it will have done its job. And I can also only speak from my own experience, what what suicidal ideation has been like for me. It's most likely different for every person. And because this isn't a topic that we talk about often, I actually don't know what it's like for other people. And so that's another conversation I would love to open, to hear what it's like for other people too, to hear how it's different, to hear, what could it be like? What does it sound like to other people in other people's heads? And so that's a conversation I'd love to open so that I can understand what it's like for other people too. But for me, suicidal ideation, it's this kind of play and contrast, because in the one sense, it's this very foreign, like this intrusive thought. You know how they talk about intrusive thoughts, like when you'll, for example, you'll see a knife and you'll think, wow, that could cut off my thumb. And that's like, and you're like, whoa, where did that thought come from, right? Like that's an intrusive thought. For me, suicidal ideation can be like that. It's like it comes into my head unbidden, and I'm like, whoa, where did this come from? Where did these thoughts come from? It's like they're beamed into my head from aliens. I have no idea where they come from. They feel like they're from outside of me. They feel like, they're truly alien. These thoughts of that I would, and most often they're not so active. They're thoughts of that I would be better off dead. I would be better off to die. People would be better off without me. It would be better if I just didn't wake up. Things like that. When they get more active, that's when I do get into more dangerous territory. And it's not to say that suicidal ideation can't get into more dangerous territory. It can. When you start to have plans and when you start to put plans into place, that is when you need to go to hospital. That is when you need to start thinking about contacting your doctor, perhaps. But for me, when it's just suicidal ideation that is benign, it's these thoughts of I would be better off dead. It would be better if I didn't wake up. And they seem like they're foreign, but at the same time, it seems comforting and it seems warm and almost like caressing, like a mother's touch, because it's the answer to the question I've been asking. And this quest I've been on for how am I going to solve this problem of the depression that I've been trying to solve? How am I going to get out of this horrible depression that I've been struggling with for so long? And the suicidal ideation is the answer. And it's just like, there, shh, it's okay. There's an answer. And so while it's in one hand alien, it's in the other hand so comforting. And so it's on the one hand not welcome, and yet on the other hand extremely welcome. And so I struggle with it, the suicidal ideation. On the one hand being not welcome and pushing it away, and on the other hand it being very welcome and welcoming it in. And that's one of the struggles that I have with it that I find very difficult. Another thing about the suicidal ideation is that sometimes it's very loud and insistent. And it's like all I can think about is you'd be better off if you weren't here. People would be better off without you. The world would be better off without you. And it's all I can think about. And sometimes it's almost like a whisper, and it's just there in the back of my mind. And no matter what I'm doing, I'm going through my day, I'm somehow managing to do the actions of living. And it's just there in the back of my mind. Be better off. Wouldn't it be better if? So sometimes it's like this toddler that won't shut up, so loud and insistent, and sometimes it's just this soft, delicate whisper. So again, this contrast. But when it's there, it's pretty much always there. And so when I'm having suicidal ideation, there's pretty much not a time when it's not present. I can almost never say like, yeah, it's not there right now. It's pretty much always there. And so it's almost like it's a symptom. It is a symptom in and of itself. It's a symptom of depression to have suicidal ideation. It's thoughts of suicide are one of the symptoms of depression that you can have. And that's what they sound like for me. And it's a sound in my head. I don't really get visions of it so much. I get sounds of it. So I get like it's almost voice in my head of it. And so I imagine other people get visions of it. I'm not sure. So I would like to know. But that's what it sounds like for me. It sounds insistent. It's always there. Sometimes loud, sometimes soft, sometimes alien, sometimes comforting. And I can really tell when it's not there. But I could probably not tell you the moment that it stops. It's just all of a sudden I'm like, hey, that's not there anymore. There's not a moment that it's like, okay, I'm gone, I'm leaving now. It's just, I can all of a sudden, I'm like, hey, wait, that's no longer there. It's no longer preying on my mind. It's no longer, it's like pressure in my mind that's no longer there. The pressure gets released. But it's a gradual release. It's not like immediate popping of a balloon, but rather a gradual release of pressure. And I can finally tell you when it's no longer there. And that's what suicidal ideation feels like to me. And I'm really lucky because, I mean, like, what's the good news here? When I have suicidal ideation, what helps? It's to be able to talk about it. That's what helps to release the pressure. Like I tell you, it's pressure on my mind. To be able to help to release the pressure myself is to be able to talk about it. And when I can't talk about it, like, for example, when I was younger and I felt like I couldn't talk about it, it would just, the pressure would build and build and build and build. And that's when it would get dangerous, because as the pressure would build, that's when I would start to think about plans and think about ways to get it to release myself. And that would get dangerous. That was when it would start to veer into dangerous territory. And the way to get the pressure to release myself is to talk about it. And I'm lucky because I do have a partner who, over the years, I've been able to train her, I guess. Like in the beginning, when I would talk about suicidal ideation, she'd get very afraid and say, like, well, this is scary, this is dangerous, should we go to the hospital? And over the years, we've learned together, I guess, that no, just thinking about it isn't the dangerous part. It's the thinking about acting on it. It's the making plans to act on it that's the dangerous part. And so when I talk to her about thinking about suicide, she'll say, okay, what do we need to do here? Are you thinking about plans? Yes or no? And I have to be honest with her. That's the key. I need to be honest with her. If I'm not honest with her, this whole thing falls apart. None of it works. But if I can be honest with her and say, no, I'm not thinking about plans, or yes, I am, but no, I'm not thinking about plans, then it's like, okay, do you think we need to talk to the doctor? No, I don't think we need to talk to the doctor. I'm okay. I just need to talk about this. Okay. And then she'll sit and she will hold my hand and stroke my hair and let me cry and talk it out and tell her all the things. And I'm sure that it scares her. I can see on her face that it does. But she'll listen and she'll let me talk it through and she'll take it. And that's what I need in order to release the pressure for myself, in order to let some of the pressure of the suicidal ideation to die down, for the, the fever pitch, for maybe some of the loudness of it, for some of the insistence of it to dampen down, so that it doesn't get so bad, so that I can go on living with it, so that it doesn't get to a point where I do need to seek help from a professional. When I can seek help from my partner or from a loved one or from a trusted friend or from a suicide hotline, for when I can talk it out with someone rather than going to hospital, rather than, going to a mental health professional, it's much better, because going to hospital for suicidal ideation is not the best outcome that you can have. There's not a whole lot of treatment for suicidal ideation that they can give you at the hospital. They can keep you safe there. That's the best that they can do there. They can keep you safe, and they can help dampen down thoughts by sedation, but there's not a lot of treatment. the best that they can do is keep you safe. If you can keep yourself safe at home by talking through the thoughts and keeping the pressure down, that's, in my opinion, that's the ideal situation. And so that's what I try to do. However, if things do get to that fever pitch and I can't keep myself safe at home, I have and will again absolutely go to the hospital and get myself into a ward where they can keep me safe and they can give me medicine that will help dampen down the fever pitch of the thoughts for a time until I can get myself safe again and get myself into a treatment option where I can keep myself safe at home. So that's absolutely, it's not the worst thing in the world. It's not the absolute worst option. It's certainly an option for treatment if you are struggling with suicidal ideation. Definitely not saying it isn't. I'm just saying that when you're trying to kind of triage the suicidal ideation, treatment at home, if you can do it, is great. Treatment by like suicide hotline or someone that you trust and love is ideal. Doctor, mental health professional, and then you're kind of moving up the scale to treatment at hospital is kind of your last resort. And so what I want to really get across today is that for those of you that are struggling with suicidal ideation, talking about it is key. And I'm hoping that hearing me talk about it as frankly and vulnerably as I am, and trust me, this is a vulnerable video to make. This is not an easy video to make, but I am nonetheless doing it because I'm hoping that it can help you to get some words behind what you're feeling and thinking so that you can talk to your loved ones about what you're thinking and feeling. And for those of you that are the loved ones, to be able to hold that space for the people that you love, to be able to talk it through so that you can talk about suicidal ideation as comfortably as possible, as vulnerably as possible, so that it doesn't get to a point where there are plans and people need to be seeking medical attention. Because suicidal ideation is unfortunately a fact of life for people that are dealing with serious depression, with even moderate to severe depression. It is a fact of life. It's something that a lot of people live with. It's not something that's really on the severe end of the spectrum and only severe cases deal with. It's something that a lot of people deal with, and we just don't talk about it, and that's why we don't hear about it a lot. We just don't know that it's there, but it is. And so if people could talk about it, a lot of people would get a lot of more relief. And so I'm really hoping that this video can help at least one person to be able to talk to their loved ones about what they're going through, so that you can help yourself to reduce that pressure and keep yourself safe. So take care of yourselves this week. Please do let me know if you're comfortable doing so, what your suicidal ideation sounds like, feels like, looks like to you in your head, because I am interested to know what other people go through. And again, take care of yourselves, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.
StigmaCrusher.